them knock you around. Let them good times roll.
Hello and welcome to another wonderful, wonderful edition to It's a Sports Show, up to number 98. Dolphin Paul on the side of me. Dave has bailed out again.
Dave's kind of a fill-in or kind of a guest host, would you say?
What happened to him?
I don't know. He's
The
off
roles
in
have been
either
reversed
Florida,
here.
Star Wars. We don't know where he is.
Fans are calling for him back, and he's just not listening. Not good.
He's not around, so it's just me and you now. So
That's all right.
We'll see if we can keep it civil this week and not get into any arguments.
I
Talk
don't
about,
see anything right
don't
now
see
that we
anything,
can
but
argue
something
about,
could
but I
arise.
never do either.
By
so.
the way, we're looking for sponsors. I don't have anything Dunkin' Donuts. Somebody wants to provide some beverage, rather than water.
This is the magic bullet right here. At least
Magic bullet.
I think that's what it's called.
We'll have to come up with some. Well,
Something like that.
we're nearing the time of year where there's going to be a heavy sports information.
It's going to be crazy playoffs.
Real
You know
soon.
the Red Sox are going to be involved. And then you're going to have the start of the football
Football, basketball, you got hockey coming back.
season. Yeah, what do you think about that? How much time in our 30-minute show do you think we can designate towards hockey?
I
And
think-
have a serious conversation
I think at
about
the beginning of the hockey season we can.
Yeah.
Just because of all the new rules
it? But then
that
things
they've
carry
enacted. I
on.
mean, I'm not crazy about that extra sudden death
Right.
shootout. I mean, we'll talk about
You're
that
not
one.
crazy about that?
No, I'm not.
No, we'll have
because
to save that for a show.
Yeah, we'll have to
You
save
know what?
that.
That'll be a hockey preview.
I'm not crazy about that, although I like wide open hockey. But there's a lot of things coming up, and
I'm going
mean,
to
I think-
I'm going to do a Dave and interject something personal that has nothing to do with anything. Well, it kind of does have. There's a guy for the Providence Bruins that keeps calling me. I must have filled out my email. I ordered tickets online last year.
Listen,
That's what happened. The guy keeps calling me, telling me to buy Flex Ticks, which must
I know
must be a
exactly
package.
what you're talking
Same
about
thing?
because I was getting messages
season
from my
opening?
son,
Yeah.
who at the time was like 9 years old. Hi, Nathan, you want to buy tickets? Hi, Nate. And every week, I'm serious, he'd called, so I guess that's his job.
I deleted my messages on my answer machine yesterday, and it was this guy like 6 times in a row with the same exact message.
Shoot him.
Weird.
But I think
Anyway.
I think we should start off the show as we're taping the show on Tuesday. I don't want to get too sensitive, but certainly our thoughts and prayers to the folks down
Yeah.
south, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, who got hit hard by
Yeah.
Hurricane Katrina. And I know
You
we
know-
have a lot of fun here on the show talking about stuff, and sports, of course, is a diversion without getting too mushy.
Right, and
That's pretty tough. They got hit pretty hard.
It's all fun, but in the meantime, there's something serious going on. And,
Absolutely.
And a lot of players, I'm sure, in all major league sports are
Almost every
involved.
team, they
Yeah,
have
in one
people
way or
down there,
another.
family there, of course. New Orleans Saints.
Yep.
They're not sure if they're going to play their opener at home. They had
Now, was that the dome?
that was the Louisiana
Okay.
Superdome. They
They
had a
had some
couple of
leaking.
holes blow
Yeah.
out, which is pretty amazing. And even inside the dome, they brought all those people in,
Right.
and unfortunately, the power went out. Now the bathrooms are clogging up. I mean, that's not a good situation.
No.
If you can't afford to leave, I mean, that's pretty tough. And the streets are flooded, so.
It's a tough situation. There's Dave with the child.
There's
Just
Dave.
poked his head
He
in
popped
as,
in. This is unbelievable.
as we're talking something
Hey,
serious
listen, we're
here.
talking something serious.
Maybe his kid could come on
Maybe
the show.
his kid could probably do a better job than we could.
50 months old. He's sitting right here. Yeah, I think that the main thing is that, the families are taken care of, and the government is always, always there to help them. Hopefully they will. At the same token, it looks like they really got spared even worse.
Louisiana, I guess, didn't take a direct hit, even though it's a mess there.
I'll take, people
All
from
summer, I
outside
should
this
say.
area. You've traveled around here and there. People outside the area, the main thing they talk about in New England are the bad winter storms. I'll take a snowstorm anytime before down south where they got the crazy hurricanes, out in the Midwest where they got tornadoes ripping apart houses. I'll take a snowstorm
Well, that's a good
anytime.
point because a lot of places throughout the country have, there's, of course, a tornado alley in the Midwest.
Right.
I'm a big Florida fan, as you know, but they do have hurricanes, and then
Yeah.
it's very hot and humid. We have a pretty good change of seasons here, and you're
Nothing to
right.
complain
It's the
about.
dead of the winter when you have those bad winters.
You got a bad winter storm, what happens? You're stuck inside and you get a shovel. It's a hell of a lot better than...
Don't get me
it's
going.
a hell of a lot
Shovels,
better
scrape
than-
the
it's a hell
windows.
of a lot better
People
than your
don't
roof
drive.
being blown
Don't even
off.
talk about that. I'm a shorts and sandals guy.
All right,
well,
you wanted
let's get to the
plug-
business
You
of
wanted
sports.
to plug next week's show.
Well, next week, for the people who are watching,
Did Dave want to be on the show?
I don't know. Well,
Is that why he poked his head in?
I
Can
don't
Farrah
know.
babysit / direct the show?
I think so. But anyway, next week, for the people who are watching, we're going to have a great football show.
You listening, Dave? I hope you're listening.
We're going to have a good football preview show, and ironically, when we tape next week, The show comes on in the Rhode Island area 7 o'clock on Thursdays, right before the Patriots game.
Right.
So you can watch a football preview. We're going to go through each division real quick, and of course spend a little more time in the AFC East. But next week, if you're a football fan like most people are, we're going to have a great football
If you
preview
like
show.
the
Our
fast
99th
pass.
show, by the way, and we can also plug our 100th show the week after, which
That's
is going to be kind of
big.
exciting.
I think we should have a chick and a cake.
Oh, there'll be chicks and cakes. There's no
I
doubt
think we
about
should
it.
have a giant cake, have a chick in there,
Yep.
tell everyone there's a chick in there, but never show her.
Well, don't say that. Then you ruin the surprise. It's a
I
PG.
just did.
It's a PG-13 show.
I'm interested to know what Dave's team is going to be this year because he always picks someone random and different. And it's
In
usually,
football?
It's usually a team
Yeah.
that is Raven Dave.
Raven Dave. Wow.
It's got a pretty good plug, actually.
That sounds.
That's
sounds
as good as Dolphin
that's not,
Paul.
That's not. Well, it's okay. I mean, there's no
Not
Dolphin
as
Paul, but-
established.
That's right, but
pretty good.
I mean, Raven Dave is more you think of like a Chippendale dancer.
Dave is.
And now on stage, it's Raven Dave.
Please. No,
That's true.
Not quite what I'm picturing here.
Well,
The Red Sox.
let's get going on the
Speaking
Red
of
Sox.
David Wells loses his appeal and in typical David Wells fashion says that Bud Selig and Major League Baseball is out to get him because the appeal did not get overturned. And the appeal didn't get overturned because they want to make sure he misses a start. You know, we talked about this a few weeks back, how pitchers get suspended for 6 games, but it's really only 1 because they only miss 1 start. And I know David Wells is going to miss a total of $300,000. Guy's making $9 million. That's no big deal. You know what I mean? I don't think that $300,000 is going to be a big deal.
Well, I mean, I think also, I don't know how I feel about David Wells. I'll tell you, of course, the local sports radio station, The Score, which I have some friends there and everything, and we all listen, most of us listen, and he comes on every week, and he's just an outspoken guy.
Right.
I mean, he says what's on his mind. Do I
How's
agree
he
with
any different than Kurt Schilling? Kurt Schilling does the same
Right,
thing.
but I think David Wells goes a little bit above and beyond what he should
Just
say.
a little rough around the edges.
Yeah, he's rough around the edges. I know some reporters don't like him because he tends to, mix up facts and so forth. But he's a guy who says his piece, and he said, of course, I can't wait until we win the World Series and have Bud Selig come up to me. So, in a way, he's right.
Punch him in the nose.
Yeah, in a way, he's right. I just don't know if he should say everything that he's going to say. But
Come on, Major League
he speaks his
Baseball
mind.
is not after him. There's no.
Well, he does dog Bud Selig. So
Right.
I think that I don't think they're after him. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the guy's 42 years old, and I just think over the years he's spoken his mind and obviously has commented
Right.
negatively on Bud Selig. So. I mean, they upheld the suspension. It was not a big surprise. I don't think it's that big a deal anyway.
It's a
He's going to miss
6-game
one start. Yeah.
suspension. I mean, what was he expecting? To get it down to 4?
Well, his
5?
point was
And then
that
what?
it was a kind of a unique situation with the second base umpire, and he kind of mumbled to himself. He said, "I was mumbling to myself," and the second base umpire kind of caught him and read his lips. So, but I don't think it's that big a deal. But he's a guy that speaks his mind, and I know a
Right.
lot of people don't like it. So I could see where the MLB higher ups might have a problem with David Wells. But I mean, getting off the off the field stuff, David Wells is unbelievably become one of the Red Sox better pitchers, if not the best.
And this is a guy that will pitch well in the playoffs because he's a veteran, he's seasoned, and he's always pitched well in the playoffs for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, and as we speak, his ERA is one of the lowest, especially in the past 5 or 6 starts. He's got a
pulled it off.
pretty solid ERA numbers compared to Clement, who ironically won last night and got back in the winning column.
Yep.
And some of the other guys, Wakefield and Arroyo, are struggling as far as ERA. So he's been a lot better than I thought.
I mean, Wakefield comes with a +4 ERA pretty much all the time for the most part. But the guy.
Yeah, but he's up over 6 now.
Is he really that high?
Him and Arroyo are struggling a little bit.
Right.
So.
I mean, it's amazing that you have, as of last week,
I'm sorry. I'm just looking at that. I don't mean to interrupt. He's at 4.35. I saw in the
Wakefield
past
is
5 or
4.35.
5 or 6 starts, or in the past month since the All-Star break. That's what it was. His ERA is
again,
big.
if you're at a 4.35, that's Wakefield numbers pretty much. You expect him to be even high 4s at times. People are he's gonna have bad days.
Now things have changed since the last few shows because the Yankees are really putting on a run here. The Yankees, they're 7-3 in their last. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and they've won 5 in a row. And listen, how about Giusambi? Maybe he's not on the juice.
Jason Giusambi.
Well, he's putting up some numbers.
You know, it's funny to follow him in our waiver wire in our fantasy league, and Dave can vouch for this. He's on the waiver wire, and no one could care less about him. All of a sudden, he has a great August, and people pick him up left and right, or it was a great July/beginning of August. Then he went to sleep for 3 weeks. Now it seems this week he's had back-to-back 2 home run games. He might be waking up again. No one knows what's going on with this guy. Is he going to be? This is a guy that the Yankees said, hey, we're going to ask you nicely, can you go play in AAA? And he wouldn't, and now he turns out to be a contributor.
Yeah, that's a good point. He was a guy who you thought came out and said, listen, I did steroids, I apologize, blah, blah, blah. And you thought maybe he'd drift off into retirement land or at least, struggle. And if he's not on the juice, I could give him credit.
Right.
I mean, the guy's turned it around.
Well, speaking of turning it around, something I heard interesting this morning on sports radio on the way in here was comeback player of the year. Is Jason Giambi somebody that's deserved of that because of, and we're not talking statistics so much in that comeback player of the year, we're talking, what he's had to overcome. My take on that when I first heard it was, give me a break. The guy was busted doing steroids. He should be penalized to some extent, at least by not giving him any awards for it.
I didn't hear that, but I agree with you. Comeback player of the year. I mean,
well, because he had the stomach.
That's true. That's true. He did have that mysterious.
I mean,
stomach
I guess the
bug.
guy could have died, but
I mean, that could be in your award every year. The Juice comeback player of the year.
the Giambi player of the year.
The Giambi player, the guy who was on the Juice and now is not on the Juice,
Right.
and like maybe Barry Bonds is trying to get this stuff out of his system, and we'll see.
Couple
how
of
he is
things
when
with
he
the
comes back.
Yankees. You talking about how well they've been playing. How about Sean Chacon? Who would ever suspect that? I mean, the Yankees have been taking people off waiver wires left and right. And what I ready to say? Colorado? No, the Rockies.
Yep.
Colorado Rockies.
Yeah.
Is that what he's playing? I'm having a brain fart. That doesn't. It sounds
Colorado
like
Rockies. That's a
sounds
baseball
like a hockey
team.
team to
That's a
me for
baseball
some
team.
reason. It's a team you're not used to talking about. The guy was tattooed. He had like almost a 9 ERA out there. And although you play at Coors Field, you expect a high ERA. It's certainly not supposed to be a 9. The guy comes to the Yankees. He's like 3-1. The one no decision he's had was something like a 2-1 ball game. The bullpen lost for him. And his ERA's got to be somewhere around 209,
the guys they picked up,
210
the
right
pitchers that are playing well for them aren't the guys that you expect. They're not the Randy Johnsons.
They're not the people that they had.
Not the Mike Musinas.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. And ironically, on that note, the Yankees, originally picked up Alan Embry, my friend.
Now they got another one.
And now they got another one, Foghorn.
Unbelievable.
Mark Foghorn, otherwise known as Bellhorn, who
Embry didn't work out.
turned
for
down
them.
the A's
Right.
to play with New York.
This is interesting.
I think New York is trying to say, hey, let's see if we can stick it to the Sox.
I think you're right.
Take a chance on Bellhorn because he had a good series against the
But when
Yankees
you
last
see
year.
what happened when you picked up Embry, that didn't work out so well.
I don't understand why they're picking up Bellhorn. I mean,
What's the
to me, I
purpose?
think
Where
it's
are
a
they
waste.
gonna put him?
Lucky for Bellhorn, he's wanted by 2 contenders, Oakland and New York.
Yeah.
But I don't understand that move at all.
Well, he's got World Series playoff experience, but at the same token, the Yankees certainly don't need that. I mean, Oakland maybe needing some leadership, but not the Yankees.
Not the Yankees. I mean, A-Rod is having a tremendous year. Gary Sheffield's always dangerous.
Yeah, it's
You
interesting.
still got Jeter. I mean, they're only a game and a half out from the Red Sox, so
And you talked about the Red Sox and their pitching and how high some of their ERAs are. Some of these guys are up in the high 4s, even a couple are above 5, but they're still scoring more than 7 runs per game average.
Well, they have the
But
offense.
What is that going to do in the playoffs? Can you
Well,
score that in the playoffs?
once again, I mean, it's a long season. I know I've said that all year, but I think, let's face it, the 2 wild cards, if you're talking World Series,
Yeah.
I don't see any way how you can't hope to have Folk and Schillen
Right.
pitching pretty well in the rotation, especially Folk. I mean, you need to get this closer situation.
See,
straightened
I
out.
say especially Schilling because the thing I see about the bullpen, if Folk doesn't pull things off, and by the way, he hasn't so far in AAA, he's given up 1 run in 1 inning of relief.
Who's he playing for? The Lowell,
The Lock Monsters,
the spin wheelers, the spinners, something like that?
he's given up 1 run per 1 inning of relief in his last 2 relief appearances so far. He got knocked, what was it, in the arm or the wrist or something.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about those rehab stints, though. I just hope his arm is ready to pitch.
But his velocity's down, and he's saying, his velocities, his fastball's in the mid-80s, and he's saying, I'm not sure why. That's bad news.
Again, they're gonna have to. He's gonna have to contribute in order for them to will.
Why can't Timlin close things out?
They're not gonna win the World Series with Timlin as a
Timlin's
closer.
closing, or because they don't have a setup guy to get to Timlin?
I don't care what it is. Timlin will not be an effective closer, and I hate to sound like a know-it-all, but I don't like his delivery. I don't think he throws a good enough fastball.
You think Folk at mid-80s is better?
No,
I know you're saying it doesn't matter what he does
They
in
need
AAA.
Folk to be close to what he was last year.
I don't think he will.
Well, he might not, but that's what they're going to need to win the World Series.
Yeah.
I mean, the Yankees are breathing down their neck. The wild card is tricky. I mean, there's no guarantee that the team that doesn't win the AL East is going to be a wild card team.
Right.
So, I mean, you really need this whole situation, this pitching hodgepodge,
Right.
if you will,
I mean, talk
to
about
straighten out. I mean, Papelbon was everybody's
dream. Yeah.
dream until Saturday night. Now, he had a rough stretch there. So,
Well, how about Schilling, though? You talked about Schilling and Folk needing to be in play. We talked about Folk. Schilling got lambasted on his last.
As we're taping the show, people will have known, obviously, the show will come on Thursday. We're taping it on Tuesday. Schilling is scheduled to pitch it today.
Yeah, last time we talked about him ahead of time.
Well,
the show was airing on Thursday, which was his first start. And something I forgot to mention that last game, we talked about the possibility of Schilling maybe should be going to AAA to do a start instead of that last game. Well, then as we're getting closer to game time, I'm thinking, you know what? He's going against Kansas City. That is a AAA start. Well, lo and behold, look at this. All of a sudden.
Yeah, but that's unfair to put all that on him because the Red Sox struggled with Kansas City. I mean, the whole team struggled with Kansas City a lot more than they should. But, I mean, Schilling's pitching tonight. I mean, it'll be pretty interesting tonight. Tonight's kind of an apprehensive start because, I mean, you're going to give him a pass at least for the first or second start. But
it's a no-win situation because if the guy pitches bad, he's screwed in the eyes of Red Sox Nation, I think. I mean, I'm talking if he pitches if he gets taken out by the fifth inning and he gives up 5 runs. At the same token, if he has a good outing, unless he throws a complete game shutout, you just want to hold your breath till the next start. You say, okay,
if he has a good outing, I'd be relieved.
That doesn't really necessarily.
I'd be relieved and say, hey,
But it doesn't set a precedent for the Kurt Schilling that we're going to see from this point on.
I don't think you're going to get the dominant Kurt Schilling you had last year. So
I agree.
I mean,
and I think that we're fine with that.
Compared to their pitching staff, he has to be pretty good.
Right.
And
I think we're giving him the ultimate pass, but he still has to be at least a number 3 type guy, if you have to put it in that
I would agree, and they got to straighten these guys out because, like we talked about, I agree with you. In the playoffs, it's all about pitching. I mean, this team can hit, and and
the Red Sox did score
the Yankees
a lot of
are in the
runs.
same boat. I mean, they certainly have a lot of offense, but their pitching staff is no great shakes. I mean, it's arguable right now who the better pitching staff is. Of course, the Yankees have Mariano Rivera, which is a nice little comfort. But I mean, you still don't know. So I think that. We said this before. We keep saying it every week. This thing has to shake itself out. It hasn't yet, but
it still hasn't.
I mean, we're getting close to nut cutting time, and we'll see. I mean, I don't think they could go into the playoffs as with Matt Clement as their number 1, and then Hope Wakefield has a good outing, but
you got Wells too.
Wells, the Wells is a big game pitcher, so I mean, I think they're in good shape as long as they can continue to hit.
Right.
And I'd really love to see Folk to come back as a good closer. I mean, those are big questions.
We talked so much about the Red Sox, not the Red Sox, but a team.
Let me drink my coffee.
Your clear coffee?
With no sponsor.
All right. We're saying that the argument is that big hitting teams cannot big hit during playoff games, but the Red Sox did last year.
Well, I don't think we're saying they can't. I just think the playoffs.
I guess the feeling is that pitching beats hitting in the playoffs.
Well, most times I think right.
But the Red Sox did score.
They can.
And the Yankees all these years have always done it too.
They have a potent lineup, but I think in the playoffs things just change, like the intensity. There's more of a defensive emphasis.
Right.
And pitching, real good pitching in the playoffs, usually will be good hitting. I mean, you'll see the same pitcher twice, maybe in a 5-game stretch.
Right.
There's a lot of different strategy in the playoffs.
So the question is then, will we face teams that has really good pitching? And that should be interesting. Maybe in a couple weeks we should break that down and take a look at the opposition and the teams that we could be facing, at least in the AL.
Well,
And who, you know,
The Red
what kind
Sox
of good
certainly
pitchers
have
are we talking?
a potent lineup, but they got to hold their own themselves.
Right.
You know, from a pitching sense. I mean, they
might be looking at
they can't be
7.
down 5-0, or you know, so they're going to have to, you know, pitch pretty well. And I mean, you know, the Red Sox are going to hit eventually. I mean, I was at the game last night, ironically. I left. I got them.
How'd you like that nice rain delay? An
Well,
hour and 40 minutes.
it was well into an hour. It was pouring, so I said, listen, the game started about 9:30, and ironically, in the first inning, Johnny Damon leads off with a homer, and then
Right.
Big Papi comes up. He hits a homer, so they're up 2-0 right off the bat. So,
Right.
but they held on and won, which is the important thing.
Good enough. What do we got left for time, Farrah? Ralphie.
Got about 8 minutes.
About 8
Ralphie is
minutes.
someone you wanted to bring up. He's
Rafi Palmeiro,
not doing so well.
It's kind of ironic. While I look at the Providence Journal here, slumping
still
Palmeiro
playing
no
for the-
longer a starter. Duh.
Is he still playing for Baltimore? So
Yeah,
I have a question.
Yes.
He gets busted for steroid use. Okay. Why does he get off the juice? Do these guys get busted and then they get tested like daily? Is
Well,
that
I don't know the answer to that question.
all of a sudden, like same thing with Giambi? Everybody said he was a shell of himself. He had lost so much weight and whatnot because he got off the juice. Why do these guys get off the juice though? If they got away with it for so long.
Well, I think once you get caught, I mean, obviously,
yeah, I guess if you get caught a
you
second
don't want to get
time.
caught again. And,
Right.
and you know, Palmeiro, you know, we talked about this before. He's slumping, of course. He's slumping. We're all going
Yeah,
to
he can't hit
make
all
fun
of
of
a
him because he's
sudden.
not on juice. But I don't understand his situation. I don't know why a guy, and we talked about this before, at his age, would be on the juice. Your career is pretty much
Well, that's
somewhat
exactly
set.
why it's his age. Because he
But-
wouldn't be playing
well-
at his age if he weren't.
But I'm saying, with all this, the past couple years, and when you go in front of Congress and say, I did not do steroids, I'm
Yeah,
telling you
well,
that
that's
right
just
now.
idiotic.
I mean, now you can kind of cruise in, arguably a Hall of Famer.
Not as far as I'm concerned.
Well, now or before?
Now.
Okay, well, that's
Before
what
he
I'm
was a Hall of
saying. I
Famer.
mean, if you're like, hey, listen, I got about a year or two to cruise on in here.
Right.
You know, you're 41, 42.
Right.
You know, you've had a pretty distinguished career.
Right.
You know, I mean, he's never been, you know, people argue about the Hall of Fame. We could argue that all day long about him not leading the league and stuff like that. He's had a good career because of
consistent,
longevity. He's been
right.
pretty consistent.
Right.
I don't know if in a you know, maybe in a 10 to 12 year span, he's going to have Hall of Fame numbers. Probably not. Anyway, why wouldn't you just cruise on in and say, listen, I'll let things take care of himself? With all this steroid stuff, you went in front of Congress, and now you get caught with it.
This year, what was it? The 500 home run club? Is that what he got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he didn't need many, right?
Right.
So get off the juice. You're going to hit the home runs. You're going to be in. Nowadays, you see these Hall of Famers. The last 20 years has been completely numbers, like the 500 club.
Right.
You belong to the 500 club. You're in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? At this point.
was actually in an elite 500 home run club.
But right. So what I'm saying is that the 500.
One of only 4 players to have 500 home runs and 3,000 hits.
Who's that? Is that Dave?
Dave from Christmas Past.
Well, that's fine, Dave, but the problem is he's been in the league for...
Well, people at home can't hear what he just said.
For a long
he's
time.
in an elite club because he's one of 4 players.
with 3,000 hits and 500 homers. But
Right.
a lot of people in the MLB ranks still don't consider him a Hall of Famer, even before the Jews.
Yeah, see, I think it's crazy to not
Because of
consider
his
him a Hall of
longevity. I
Famer.
think people
I
said
think
because...
that's deservedly.
And I'll tell you why. I mean, we don't have the stats right in front of us, but I guess, I don't know if he ever led the league in hitting. I don't know if he was ever MVP.
Right.
You would think a guy with those type of
That's-
numbers...
I'm fine with that if he never led the league in any numbers throughout his career, but his longevity alone kept him.
That's a story for another time,
you know
but I
what
would
mean?
agree with you. A lot
But
of people
I don't
say...
think he deserves to be there now. Forget about it.
Well, this whole era to me...
He won't get it.
This
He
whole
will not
era...
be in the Hall of
This
Fame.
whole era to me is tainted.
Right.
Sammy Sosa, Mark
Absolutely.
McGuire, Bonds, great players, yes, great players, but juicy players,
Right.
juicy fruit. So, I mean, this whole era is kind of tainted, and I'll never look at the Hall of Fame the same, especially with these last few guys.
They should have a
you
Hall
know,
of Shame.
a Hall of
separately
shame.
with all these juicy
That'd be right
guys.
next to the fruit tree.
How about speaking of the Orioles real quick? Fruit Tree, the guy from Bermuda there, Aruba, Ponson, getting arrested for DUI. Did you hear about this?
No.
Sidney Ponson got arrested for DUI. This guy is nothing but trouble.
Well, if I was
The
1-9
Orioles
my
could
last,
finally get rid
if
of
I was
him.
1-9 my last 10, they completely fell apart. We talked about them earlier.
Right.
And
Actually,
it's
did
just-
he? Dave, did Ponson leave Baltimore? I forget now. I thought he went somewhere else.
I don't think Dave's with us.
He's not paying
He's
attention. No.
He's
all right.
watching.
So Baltimore can
Chewbacca,
finally,
R2T, do Chewbacca.
he's finally done something in his contract. You know, conduct detrimental to whatever. Unlike you, who never is detrimental.
I'm not detrimental to anybody except myself, but well, this will be interesting how this whole thing plays out. A couple football notes before we get to our big football preview show
How much time we
next
got,
week.
Farrah? See how fast you have to talk.
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Plenty
We
of
got
time.
plenty of time.
Talk slow.
I normally talk fast anyway.
Couple of football notes.
When do we get tested here? Because I like to be on the juice.
Yeah, you talk fast. I think you might be on the juice. You want to? Next week we'll talk.
Say anything.
Anyway, a little teaser for football notes. Alex Smith announced. The 49ers have announced that Alex Smith will not be the starting quarterback. It'll be Tim Rattay. I think that's a smart move, on the 49ers' part. You want a guy. Tim Rattay is not bad enough to take a rookie and make him your starting quarterback. You know what I mean? Same situation as Mr. Peyton Manning's brother, Eli. That,
Yeah,
the situation did not call for needing to start a rookie
That's a tricky
quarterback.
situation because a lot of guys say you need to learn by fire. I mean, I don't think San Fran's good enough either to have Alex Smith in the background. It's almost like, he's very young, and
Right.
I could
I
see
don't
their
think
point. They don't want to
Rattay's-
destroy the kid. And Rattay's a better quarterback at this point.
Right.
But
Taking a look at the 49ers O-line,
yeah, but they don't
it
have a lot
won't
of
take long before Rattay
well,
is hurt.
They don't have a lot of talent
Alex
anyway,
Smith
so
will get all the play in the world.
So maybe Alex Smith could play. I guess they're trying not to ruin his
I think
career.
it's a smart move. Why would you? You just paid big bucks for this guy. You're going to put him on the injured.
Why not? Let him learn. Let him learn.
He'll learn plenty. Those
Trial by
guys-
fire.
Those guys threw drills.
Peyton
do the
Manning
same
started
exact
in
thing.
Indianapolis, and he wasn't very good his first year. A lot of people forget he was throwing
Right.
interceptions all over the place.
But not every team is built like that to be able to do that.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how his career pans out because obviously they've sunk. They made a big investment in Alex.
He'll be a
Smith.
49ers starter within at least a couple of seasons anyway. Tim Rattay by no means is going to be the quarterback for the next,
I
5
would
to
be
10
shocked
years.
if Tim Rattay went through the whole year without
Right.
Alex Smith coming in.
Well, I don't know. Well,
I'd be
I don't know
shocked.
about that.
I'd be shocked
I don't know
because
about that.
they're going to struggle.
Right.
So I think eventually the pressure's going to be too enormous
Right.
to bring Alex Smith in because everybody's going to want to say. And it might be a good idea to let Rattay start 3, 4, 5 games, but after that,
Nah.
let the
I
rookie go
disagree.
in. Speaking of another quarterback,
Yeah.
local QB for the New England Patriots, Rohan Davey,
Cut.
let go finally, and
You say finally, so you were waiting for this all along.
well, I mean finally this
was certainly
preseason because
expected.
they brought in Matt Cassell, who ironically backed up Leinart and Carson Palmer at
Yep.
USC, so they took
No one ever got
Matt
to see what
Cassell
he could
late,
do.
and apparently he made the team. Well, he did make the team, not apparently. And Rohan Davey just couldn't.
He's a better future option for the Patriots. You know what I mean? That guy's
Well,
gonna be around
obviously
for a
they
while.
think so because they let go.
So the fight was really between Flutie. The fight was for the second string, I think,
Right.
not so much the third string. And
I would
Flutie's
agree
your
with that.
veteran, and he had a good camp, like you
Flutie,
would
yep.
expect.
I'll
if
tell you.
Brady goes down, I want Flutie in there.
For a 60-year-old guy, Flutie, he's pretty athletic.
Jeez. He's older than the 59-year-old Rafael Palmeiro. On behalf of Dolphin Paul and, of course, Raven Dave in the studio.
Raven Dave.
Hiding with his child. I'm Scott Cray. Thanks, Farrah, for producing. Next week,
Football show,
preview.
don't forget.
I'm not